so much.
So Boyd covered half of my speech, so I won't repeat everything he said, but just for the camera, because he insists it's in English, you will have to excuse my English and just endure it. First, we'll try to cover in 1 hour most of the topics we discussed and want to bring to everyone. We want to cover the AI in the workplace from tool to teammate. This is the first one. How AI works, of course, and where it fails, AI capital, value risks, and strategic timing, leadership and responsibility in an AI world. Best case scenario, we managed to cover all the topics. Worst case scenario, we just pick one aspect and go with the flow. You can remember your questions. We'll have time at the end of the discussion for your questions. If you think of something really important, just raise your hand and we'll give you the option to speak whenever we can during the discussion. And here for the panelists today, I want to present to you Vlado. He's black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so I'll be very careful with him.
That's very important about the topic.
Yes.
Always.
Well,
always.
he's also business owner and more recently an investor, so he's also in a pursuit of self-improvement, independence, and his values, which constitute what he considers a good life. Brian, currently working on an AI memory startup. He has a background in finance and fintech infrastructure. Tokenized gold, crypto custody, ATM networks. He also invests in other startups, mining and natural resources. Jordan. He likes to innovate, to experiment and put things together. He has interests in the worlds of IT, data science, innovation visualization, screenwriting for film and theater, building sustainable wood houses also. And Ivan, he is the latest to join the party tonight. He is infrastructural mega projects expert, ex-McKinsey, former deputy mayor of Sofia, and I entrepreneur. So thank you very much, guys, for being here, and I just think we can start with the first question. Our discussions often swing between fear and hype when we talk about AI. So today we'll focus on how leaders can think clearly, act responsibly, and create value. So what is the biggest misunderstanding, according to you, business leaders have about AI today? Whoever feels like it can start the discussion.
The person who is holding the microphone, probably. I don't see any.
Whatever. Proba. Does it work or? Okay. To be honest, since I'm not working with AI, implementing AI in my daily business and so on yet. I cannot talk about this from a personal point of view. But judging in accordance to all the media publications, everything that is going on recently, AI is the major topic, as everybody knows that. And for sure, for people that are working in quite a competitive environment, they need to be up to date in order to not to miss opportunities, not to have their prospective chances somehow wiped out, or even their current competitive advantage. So, in my opinion, all of the today business leaders, but it also depends on how we define business leaders, right? Because there are different sizes of businesses and also different areas where I personally think that the implementation of AI, and even we are not certain yet what those, because we're talking about the inference part, right? How those applications and everything will look like, let's say in 5 years or in 10 years and so on. So I guess there are businesses where it's relatively urgent. The colleagues might prove me wrong or share another opinion, and businesses where it will be a little bit postponed, so they have a little bit more time. And I'll give an example from let's say the big tech industry, where there are quite different strategies, as you might have already seen. Apple, for instance, they don't do anything about it, right? They sit on the side and they wait to see what's going to happen, what's going to develop, how they're gonna, use the whole thing to eventually earn money, right? But also others such as Alphabet, as Google, that basically they got jeopardized quite heavily by ChatGPT, but nevertheless managed to catch up, or at least they are in a good current spree of catching up. So this is what I'm initially starting with. So
I'll take it.
By the way, everything that Vlado said is exactly on the point, because literally right now every single business owner, small or big, they're under the dilemma: are we going to invest our resources in AI? Are we going to wait and see what is going to happen? And the big problem of this is the incredible uncertainty of not knowing where AI is going. We don't know if we're going to stop in a position where we can mechanize work that is very automatable, or are we going to completely remove the thinking process? And every leader sits there, and this is their biggest fear. And their biggest fear comes from, first of all, we don't know what is happening. Second of all, is, do I do enough in this direction? Do I move fast enough? Do my competitors actually go and invest heavily in AI? And if they do, are they more profitable? Are they going to kill us because they can suddenly decrease the prices and we'll be out of the market? And the other question is, what do you do with your resources? Is it keeping the people? Is it getting rid of the people? Is it investing the money? Is it not investing the money? If you are investing, where exactly are you going to invest? What is your best use case to invest your resources? And where are you going to get the most profitability? I'm going to talk a little bit about consulting, maybe a little bit later, but also now. The question of getting rid of people, because we've seen this thing, and we know that the level of automation that was not possible before, because it required heavily IT integration and coding, and now we have a very different skill set of automatable cognitive capability of the AI. And this can completely replace low-level workers, whether it's somebody in a call center, or whether it's the administrative person, or even somebody who does compliance. And then comes the risk. If we get rid of those people and if we invest in this, what is the risk that we're bearing? And we saw it multiple times, people and companies that are getting rid of the people so they can get capital, so they can invest in AI, and suddenly they realize that the people are still needed. Because either the AI is not good enough, is not advanced enough, the promises are not delivering to what we thought before, but also at the end, very often businesses require the knowledge and expertise of those people who actually were working there and who are live people. And we saw several cases like this that are terrible. For me, the worst case that I saw is Deloitte in Australia. It was a big scandal, basically part of the consulting track. They decided to write a bunch of reports for the public sector with the AI. And it was a disaster. Basically, the AI was so confident and so wrong at the same time. And the real experts actually realized right away that the AI was citing false things that did not exist. And basically Deloitte had to return 400 million or $100 million, something like this, and hopefully had to promise not to sell AI without expertise.
Well, that brings us to the next question. How do we see AI, or is AI already a worker at some places? And which are the processes we should not automate it and keep human?
Brian, you sound like you're the expert in this.
Well, I think before we get to that, I want to show something here. Uh-oh, we lost this. I think it's important that we take a step back and we understand what AI is, and that we don't conflate it with ChatGPT and LLMs. I know that it's probably a little hard to see in the back of the room there, but here's a chart that's showing all the different fields of study within the broader idea of AI. This is something that goes back to the 1950s. And that little red square there inside the yellow square is LLMs. Those are something that came out of a discovery at Google in 2017 called transformers. And now when you listen to the media or you listen to investors, all the hype, it's all about either it's ChatGPT or it's Gemini or it's Claude, but these are all LLMs, and these are very good tools, very interesting tools. They're getting better over time, but they also have drawbacks, and they're appropriate to apply to certain things, but not others. As the Deloitte story highlights, one of their problems is they can hallucinate. They can make things up. I think later we might get into that more, what that is. But at the same time, when you're asking the question about what is AI going to do in the future, I think that actually it's pretty clear what it's going to do in the future if you zoom out over a longer time frame. What's not clear is what companies will be the winner, how far can LLMs go. But this is just kind of a funny chart showing the progress of computing over time. And up there, this yellow dot is kind of where we are now. It says, the green line says dumb human, and the guy on the left is saying, oh, that's funny, the robot can do monkey tricks. And then the yellow line is Einstein level intelligence, and the other guy's saying, what the hell? We are there.
I don't think you're reading it right.
No. But this is a little bit more serious scientific way to put it here, and this comes from a book that I read in 1999, and the chart is obviously outdated, but I picked it specifically because it's so old. It's demonstrating that these capabilities are a mathematical trend that goes back over 100 years of computing, back to mechanical computers. And you can see that red line is more or less about where we are here today. On the left axis, we have a capability of calculations per second for $1,000 of hardware. And today we're at about 10 to the 14th, which is right where that line is. And there's no reason to believe that that won't continue. It has been continuing for 100 years. And the overall capabilities of what we can do correlate very highly with the cost of computing power. So whether or not LLMs are going to keep scaling, whether or not OpenAI is going to win the AI race, who knows? But I do believe you can expect to see this trend continue, and there's no reason to believe that it will stop. So I think maybe we can come back to this later, but move on from here.
Yeah, thank you very much. I fully agree with what Brian was explaining, except maybe the definition of intelligence, which I think is the biggest thing that maybe business leaders are over speculating with today. It's not by chance called artificial intelligence, and I believe we should make this distinction, because what this model is doing is it is based on these LLMs that Brian showed. It's you can imagine it like a huge map of some area, but this map is not two-dimensional, it's not three-dimensional, it's like unlimited dimensional map, very complicated, and it's a map of words. It's like sentences, but not sentences, but words. So it's an algorithm that can very well find similarity between different words, and what it does is when you put it somewhere, and you put it somewhere when you give it your sentence, you make an input to it. If we think about it as a black box, in this black box something enters and something goes out, and we are very fascinated by what goes out, and because we kind of so much like it, we say, wow, it's something intelligent did that. Yeah. So just to maybe demystify it a little bit, it's in the end of the day, it's a machine, and this will be as intelligent as a machine can become. It, according to me, it cannot outgrow its mechanical nature, because it's a mechanic in its nature. And I don't know how many of you know how it works, but when you see one response from the AI, you would say, wow, this is like somebody is talking to me. What it does in the background is it doesn't create a sentence, it doesn't want to tell you something. Based on where you put it on the map with your input, it creates the first word, and it might be, for example, what, and it will say, what you describe reminds me of, and put a whole sentence together, but it will start with one word, and it doesn't have any clue about the second word until it mathematically, statistically pulls out the most likely word. It puts it on the screen and it says, oh, what should be the next one? And the next one, and the next one. And this is how it works, which is quite different than how we human or what we think about intelligent thought works. Because first we start with somewhere an idea comes into our mind from somewhere, right? A feeling, and we want to express it with words. And then we try to figure out how can we express it. And the whole world works like this. Music, art, we try to find different language. Mathematics, which is supposed to be the language of nature, also tries to describe the world in symbols. Music tries to do it. Pictures, words, of course, a very powerful source, a mechanism to describe ideas. And the good thing is that we have a lot of words, and just this statistical engine happens to be so beautiful technology that it has a practical implication, and now we can have the feeling as if it's talking with us. But actually, it doesn't have an idea that it wants to tell us. It is just a statistical chain of chaining one word after the other, as if it's looking at a dictionary. So this is a key takeaway for me. Solves the background about its limitations. It definitely cannot replace this process of intelligent ideas bringing into life. And there is much more to talk about it, but I would like to say this as a beginning.
Okay, what are the real risks leaders should understand before deploying IT? AI. Sorry.
I can try to answer this. So I think we already touched on that a little bit. If you talk about LLMs, one of the hugest risks is that they hallucinate, they make things up. I mean, more specifically, they've been known to invent scientific papers that don't exist. They'll create citations to very plausible sounding research from real or made up people that's just not true. So you can use them. They're incredible tools for doing research and for creativity, but you cannot take the human out of the loop in terms of validating their output. So you could, in some cases, you may be able to scale down your workforce and get rid of some very junior people, but you still need the senior human expertise to validate the output. And just as long as I have the microphone and while we're up here, I'll just play devil's advocate with what Jordan said. I believe that yes, these particular LLMs today are not going to be able to exceed human intelligence, but I do think that eventually they will, because I think that given enough computing power, you can simulate something to the degree that you can't tell the difference. Like if we have any music fans here, how many of you can really tell the difference between a record and an MP3 played over the best state-of-the-art equipment today? I think almost nobody. Maybe some audiophiles claim they can. That's a simple example, but as you continue to scale up computing power, I think you can simulate almost anything. But I guess we'll see over the coming years.
But how this hallucination will go away? Like we say that it's not working. Is there any source, so to say, proven source where we can get the information from people which are proven people?
Can I just real quick, maybe we can talk about that after if you're really interested. That's exactly what I'm working on now, but I would say that given these LLM technologies in their current state, that's just something that cannot be fixed. It also goes into this idea of safety and guardrails, which I could talk about later. You may hear about how models can be jailbroken. These are, I think they're fundamentally unsolvable problems given the current architecture.
Brian, you're the only one who has the microphone, so you don't need to.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
No problem.
I'm very happy with what you said, because I was personally very scared that we're completely done. And now that you're saying that there is a limitation inside integrated, I kind of feel better about that.
At least for now.
At least for now.
For now, for this technology.
I'll just share some experience, because we're entering in the conversation about the potential and the limitation of AI. And I remember a friend of mine told me about ChatGPT, and it was maybe a week or maybe 2 weeks after it came out. And he told me, and I tried it the same night. And it took me 15 minutes to do a consulting job of benchmarking and structuring something that would have taken me a clear 3 days. Because I'm personally a little bit lazy on this side, and I take more time. But seeing it done in 15 minutes, maybe half an hour, I was so impressed. And I remember thinking, consulting is done. There are no more consultants. We are done with this thing. And because basically consulting is being able to get a lot of research, take a lot of data, then structure your thinking, coming up with hypotheses. All of this is something that you can integrate as a process, and you can execute completely with AI. And then comes several things that we need to discuss. The next thing was we were working on the building of sound stages. This is where you film the movies. And it was maybe 6 months later, then we saw AI generated pictures. And in 6 months later, we were building sound stages, and I talked to my boss back then, and I was like, I think my work as a consultant is dead, but I'm pretty sure your work here is also dead, and what we're going to invest right now is completely dead. Yes, and I must say these sound stages and studios are not doing very well. But I'll go back, and I'll take a few minutes about this, specifically about consulting. Now, when you think about consulting, you have young, intelligent people who enter. And although everybody thinks, oh, they're super intelligent, they went to great schools, they know nothing and they're unable to do anything right. And I've been there, I know this. And this lasts for at least a year, because the companies, they invest in those people. Those are the first level people who come, and you need to invest in them. You need to teach them about the process, about the skill set, about the human interaction. And companies are very tempted to now get rid of those young people, those first level incomers. And this is extremely scary, because this will impact the market in a way you can not even imagine. Those would be many young people not able to find the same jobs that were available before that, and those are very interesting skills developing oriented jobs.
It happened in IT services. Right now, this is the case. All the junior developers are gone.
I can only imagine.
Everywhere, regardless of
Makes completely sense. And
even some mid developers are still, they can't find a proper job.
please stop, I'm getting scared now. And by the way, I have a real scare about this. I don't know if any one of us will have a meaningful job very soon. But what happens is, if you get rid of the young people, then your pyramid, in consulting specifically, but many other companies, in pyramid, if you get rid of, you decrease the size of the lowest level. What happens is, in 2 years, you automatically decrease the size of the upper levels, because those guys that are up, they cannot work without or maybe now they can. But this will mean that in 10 years, what we have in consulting now, if we continue the same way, we're going to decrease maybe 60% of the stuff. They will not be required. There will not be a market for them. Because what was taking time before on the production line of making slides and thinking genius ideas is now done. This doesn't take 6 weeks. This takes 12 minutes back and forth with the AI and a CEO that no longer wants to pay high fees for consultants. And this is very risky. Now you're going to get rid of those people, but actually where you can really take advantage of the AI is when you have an expert that has went through 20 years of human training and now can use AI. And if you don't have those first levels, you are not going to have those people in literally in 5 years. Yeah.
You cannot get an expert without being junior. I mean,
Yeah. How do you get those people?
Just several comments on this. Personally, I don't think this is a big trouble so far. First of all, people could start much more productive and meaningful things to do than consulting. I have my fair share of dealing with consultants. Don't take it personally, please.
Don't take it.
The output provided by consultants might be good, but the overall utility of this whole business sector is questionable. At least from my experience, which is from banking, which is from airports. It's a good business, but one is certain, nothing is forever, and there will be for sure a restructuring of many sectors, especially the one that you just mentioned. And it might take time until new jobs are developed, but they eventually will come out. It was the same basically when we switched from agricultural to basically to factories to the industrial revolution and so on. I agree, a lot of people died in the process of starvation, and the process was very slow, but I don't think this would be the case nowadays, because the speed with which everything changes, and the necessity and the capabilities of not only the large language models or any other inference product that's going to be developed. There will be people will be needed for eventually for something. This is at least what I'm suspecting.
I would add something quick on that. I think that everything you said is true, but I also think that these AI technologies can really accelerate the learning process. Just in simple things like it. I don't know if you all work with AI every day, but I do. And when I reflect back how much faster it is to learn something because I can ask a question, I still can't trust it, but I can tell it to give me the answer and then cite what it wants or what its reasoning is. And then I can go read that. A few years ago, it could take hours on Google sifting through results and clicking on things and getting ads and pop-ups. I mean, you can learn something in 5 minutes now that might have taken you 2 hours 5 years ago. So I think that people that know how to use these things will have a real advantage and they'll be able to learn faster. And then another thing is I think that there are shortcuts in validating these systems. I mean, you can use other types of technology to validate the output of an LLM. A simple example is that they can write code now, or you can write code, and you can verify an output with code. The problem with the LLMs is that they're not deterministic. They're called generative, and there is a degree of randomness in their outputs, and they will not typically provide the exact same answer twice. And that's not typical of classical computing, where the outputs are deterministic. They're right or they're wrong. The program runs or it doesn't. So you can use classical computing to automatically validate the outputs of some of these AI systems, for example, to accelerate that process. But I don't want to steer us too far off course here.
I have a lot to add in any direction. I just don't know where to start.
Big top 3.
Yeah, maybe the most interesting thing is what you guys started talking about what are we going to do with all these people that are not going to do what they do today.
4 minutes for a response.
4 minutes for me alone? Yes. Fantastic. Yeah. Okay, so my experience is I'm working practically with AI on a daily basis for the last 4 months, every day. I'm overdoing it a little bit. It's part of my nature. I'm working Saturday, Sunday, so completely, sometimes more than 8 hours a day. And I'm working on a very interesting project in IT. We are coding a software that will become a shopping assistant. So I wanted to share with you that I alone, in 3 months, I was trying to estimate what the output that I got, what would be the equivalence if I had a team of 3 people. I believe it's 1 year. If I had a team of 3 people leading them, I would be where I am after 3 months with AI. Alone, yeah. But there is a side effect of this, because the code that we produce together with the AI it comes with a lot of technical depth. It's not very qualitative, so it would need maybe some more reworking in order to call it on the same level of quality that these 3 people would produce. Anyway, it works fantastic. So it's very important to understand that I was able to do this because maybe my brain was this kind of generalist brain, where I'm not a specialist in one field. I was always interested in a lot of topics. And so I was not very strong in a single thing, but I was able to put the dots and to ask the model to connect the dots. And I believe for this kind of brains, it will be extremely successful if you are in this situation. So if you are a specialist, however, what do you do? And the specialist, I believe, will be very successful in future to teach the AI something, because the AI is not, it is what we call the AI. It's not one huge brain. It needs a lot of fine-tuning by people, and millions of people are already today fine-tuning it. And a lot of specialists, doctors, professors are working in conversation with the AI to tell it where the boundaries are, what is true and what is not, in order to address these problems. So there is plenty of space for everybody, I believe. And I think it's so fascinating that these guys that do the specialist job will need to become a little bit more generalist, that it will only bring the whole output of the humanity to another really revolution. Because imagine that if these guys that sit and dig and try this research and do all this tedious stuff, if they sit and start creating and putting the dots and telling the AI to connect the dots, then the amount of creative output will explode, and we will just have a lot more output out there, that even if some little percentage of it is meaningful, it will be much more than what we have today. And this is what I believe is where the future will be. People will start to invest more in their education, because the more you need to know a little bit about the field, but from a variety of fields. Not like today you specialize, you're a dentist, you do the specific type of dentist job, and you have 10 types of dentists. Maybe in the future this will be different, and people will spend much more time in education in order to bridge this gap, because they will not be able to start with juniors, but maybe you will go to the university for 20 years. I don't know. Maybe there will be, because today, 50 years ago, nobody was in the university for 4 years. Now we have a lot of people that graduate, they go to the university for 10 years, which was unthinkable like 100 years ago. Yeah, I believe this is where we are going. Much more education, higher output from all this, and the job will definitely change.
The education system will have to change for sure. It was more or less with the purpose of serving the post-industrial revolution society anyways. So what we had as an education in school and university was basically in order to have all the factories working, to have managers for them and consultants, of course, to help them. And apparently this won't last much longer. So there will have to be a complete revamp of the whole education system, formal education at least. I assume in 10 years will look very different from now. Yeah.
I would just add, I had a very similar experience with using it to write code. I remember exactly 1 year ago, I saw online, people were talking about how ChatGPT can write code now. And they were showing all these spectacular demos, but I tried to use it, it was completely useless. It couldn't write anything meaningful at all, not in terms of real software, but now, just 1 year later, you can use it to create incredible stuff very, very quickly. You still need to have some background in technology. It's not really like, oh, I've never had a computer before, now I can just tell it to write me things. But it is moving in that direction. It's such an incredible difference between just 1 year ago and what you can do. And the rate of speed is unbelievable. And if you've heard of this thing called Claude Code, it's very popular now. The guy that created it says that he uses it to write almost all its own code. This would be unthinkable 1 year ago, maybe even 6 months ago.
Do you think the market is overestimating or underestimating AI?
I would like to try to answer that one. I think that it's dramatically overvaluing these LLM companies because they're phenomenally unprofitable. There's two big problems with today's AI story. One is, can they continue to scale these LLMs to a super intelligence? I think probably not, or certainly not without combining some other technologies or something like that. But the other big problem is that they all lose a phenomenal amount of money. And there's no pathway that shows them becoming profitable because they're always trying to create a bigger one, and the bigger ones cost more money. And I would also say, picking up on your comment about Apple, I'm not really sure that they're staying out of AI. They're doing very good things with AI hardware, but I think they're kind of letting their competitors build these phenomenally unprofitable things that they can then take advantage of, because the industry is also producing open source models which run very well on Apple hardware. So Apple's getting this benefit kind of for free. And the models are, besides that they're expensive to run them, they're phenomenally expensive to train them. So I hope that answers the question. I think that there'll be a breakthrough in some other field that will live up to the hype and will be worth it, but I think these current companies are way overvalued.
Do you think then it's realistic to talk long-term investment in AI companies, or we should concentrate more on the speculative ones?
I would say expand your horizons beyond simply LLM companies.
Yes, I agree. Also, regarding Apple, this is basically also part of the strategy, right? You don't have that much capex that everybody is now spending. You just wait to see who the winner will be. They now got their deal with Alphabet, so it basically the end game is not clear, and because the end game is not clear, any big move or something that is completely far away in the future, to me it's too much risk to take, and from investors' point of view. So when I'm thinking and how I'm dealing with this, for instance, is I ask myself, all right, if first of all, does the company has another business? Okay, so can they produce a lot of cash on the sideline from their current business in order to finance their capex build-up? Because, and what are they going to do afterwards? Let's say, for instance, Alphabet, they train their own models and so on and so forth. They can't rent out their capacity. If there is a complete change, they can very easily switch. They have their own chips and so on and so forth. And they're like a conglomerate of also other bets and other businesses that are basically profitable. And because of that, the risk when you look at companies like that is not as big. Like, for instance, if you tomorrow have OpenAI IPO, and because of, I don't know, some crazy dreams, although you never know, because there is also the case that they might start competing with Apple, creating a physical product, because one of the claims is that eventually those LLMs and other whatever comes out as the final inference solution will be like a new Windows, right? New operational system, new platform that you just would need a device, and you won't need operational system, you won't need anything, just a new device, maybe glasses, maybe whatever. So they will be able to compete on this ground with other incumbent companies. But yeah, I would say abstaining from any speculative moves is quite advisable, in my opinion.
Sorry, just like speculative moves. Just a few examples. Is ChatGPT like OpenAI speculative moves?
Yes. I mentioned this. Like, 'cause there will be. I mean, we are in the early stage. We don't have such crazy IPOs yet. This will be the year that they're gonna start slowly. I think with Anthropic, maybe we'll see also OpenAI eventually. But also other companies that are smaller. But it's. I think that currently the bubble, so to say, it's on the VC level. So a lot of money is poured into companies that are promising in their opinion. But when the mass IPOs wave starts, then things will get out of control. So in my opinion, just businesses with good balance sheet, other business lines, how they gonna capitalize on their capex investment is very important when you judge your prospective investment ideas.
Do you think some of the IPOs this year will be successful on the AI front?
They will be. All of them will be very successful.
All of them.
All of them will be very successful because this is the psychology, this is the hype, and but depending on from which standpoint, from the consultant standpoint, from the bank, banking industry standpoint, from the it's a long-term game. Initially, because of the hype and everything, probably all those IPOs will be very successful, but in 3-5 years, you don't know, right? It depends on your investment philosophy and your investment strategy. If you're like a risky player and you want to ride the wave for a while, you could do that, not without the risk though. I mean, yeah.
What are the most underestimated risks?
Like in regarding
AI, what about ethical or governance regulations, for example?
To be honest, I don't care. I mean, from investment point of view, I mean, okay, we are in Europe, and as you know, as the joke goes, USA, America innovates, China duplicates, Europe regulates. So we don't have. We have like this French company Mistral. I think they're the most prominent example, and some smaller companies. But we don't have data centers. Come on, they don't know where to build it. The price of electricity is like everybody knows how high. They're thinking about building tanks, not data centers, unfortunately, which is stupid because by the end of the day, Mr. Trump will have to sell them data centers as well.
Okay.
So from a regulatory point of view, it's too early to say. The most developed nations in this regard, USA and China, and they're still not figuring out how to proceed with all these regulations.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Yeah, just wanted to say about the market overvaluation. It's really important because a lot of people don't understand that it's not just AI. If AI fails, it won't be just AI failing. For example, S&P 500 has been the thing to invest since forever, and it's completely certain. It gives a very good 10% per year profit, and so on and so on. But what people don't understand is that it's at the moment it's completely driven by AI, and if AI fails, this can totally obliterate all investments, and it can change the economic environment forever, basically, if this bubble bursts, so to say. And one other thing I wanted to mention is about investments, because right now we have till now we had the problem that there is not enough hardware for the AI advancement. Now the problem is electricity. So my personal feeling, without being an expert in anything, is that probably there will be some kind of return to atomic energy and other old sources of energy.
Already ongoing.
Sorry?
It's already ongoing.
Yeah, and probably this will be a good investment in maybe short to mid-term, I'm not sure. But
From nuclear reactors.
in energy companies that are, that deal with that.
Well, just on this point, because we were talking about nuclear energy, and sometimes I have to deal with this. On the point of nuclear energy, EDF, the French energy giant, Areva, all of those players 2.5 years ago started recruiting heavily where nobody else was recruiting, and they were recruiting everybody, just engineers, electricians, everybody. So they are ready for this thing. This is going on for quite some time.
How big is the risk that these bursts and the technology turns too expensive in order to produce any meaning, to stay on the market, so that it goes bankrupt? And how big is this risk?
This is a tricky question, and I mean, every time in history there is like a big innovation wave and investment super cycle and so on. We basically have a bubble, and eventually, but like the bubble build up, it has different phases. Let's not go into details. It's a matter of navigating this environment, because in my opinion this is a once in a lifetime opportunity anyways. The last one was when we were kids, basically with €0 in the pocket and not knowing anything about anything. So being too afraid and too scared about all that's going on, it's, in my opinion, it's not the right thing to do, because you miss great chances to make good money. Whether it will be, there will be overbuilt for sure. When, nobody knows. I mean, there are signs that like the wave of IPOs that I was mentioning, this is a very good sign that things are starting to get out of control. The S&P 500 is not that overvalued yet. The companies, it's also on company basis, right? It depends what business model, what other assets, how they're gonna monetize, and so on and so forth. And still, do you think that your investment will go to zero, right? Because in business schools they teach that we should measure risk, that risk in investment is basically volatility, right? Which is complete bullshit. The risk, you cannot measure risk in investment. First of all, the only meaningful risk is that your investment goes to zero. So if you, and you have heard probably already this margin of safety framework of value investors and so on. If you have entered a good investment at reasonable price, you most likely be okay, right? Even if there is like a 50% drop of the whole index or whatever. Some stupid, small, middle or whatever companies, crazy companies, they will vanish for sure. But it's a matter of let's say, not being greedy by the end of the day, and be okay with, let's say, 20% return, although this is quite generous, instead of 150, because this is where the things get out of control, and also bubbles typically burst when there is a shift in monetary policy. So there is some weakness, interest rates start to rise, and so on and so forth. No new inflows of capital, no new inflows of investment money, and so on and so forth. And then eventually the domino effect turns to the other side. And this is how they typically pop. So I personally think, I mean, I evaluate the current situation, let's say, every 6 months, more or less. And as I said, good companies at good prices. That's it.
I would just add real quick, if you want to understand this, just look at the commitments that these companies have made in terms of hardware and data centers and electricity. There's no way that they can pay them, particularly OpenAI, but it's kind of the whole industry. And then you also have this circular investment flow going around from NVIDIA to Oracle to OpenAI to Microsoft, or, you know, I'm not invested in any of this stuff, but it just looks like a disaster waiting to happen. Who knows how long? You know, like when the housing market was about to blow up in the US, people started calling it 12, 24 months in advance, and everybody called them crazy, but exactly. Eventually it's gonna happen. I mean, I guess there's some outside chance that OpenAI finds the magical super intelligence and they just become worth $10 trillion or whatever, but I don't think it's that likely. And if it doesn't happen, there doesn't appear to be any way mathematically that they can honor their commitments. And they've already been angling for a government bailout. So, I mean, that's one route by which this can be kept artificially afloat for longer than it otherwise would be, but I can't see how it works.
To be honest, apart from the shift in, let's say, financial conditions, because money plays a huge role, the most, let's say, black swanish type of events that are possible is the fall of eventually of OpenAI, because of everything that you mentioned, and also MicroStrategy because of their Bitcoin shenanigans.
That's smaller. That's much smaller than OpenAI.
But
it could be a domino.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The size not always, you know, it's just the loss of trust, and then it starts to build up with like a snowball. And
but why do we pay? Why is it so cheap?
What is cheap?
To use AI today.
Because they're subsidizing it for you with their VC money, and then also another thing is that the corporate customers of AI are subsidizing the retail customers. Like when you, as a regular person, you get a Claude subscription or a ChatGPT subscription, and you know, you pay between $20 and $200 a month to use it basically as much as you want, depending on how much of a power user you are. But if you build that through the API, like I use Claude and I pay $200 a month. I use it all day, every day. But I looked at it, if I use the API, it would be like $3,000 to $5,000 a month. Yeah. And that's what corporations, for certain applications, they're forced to do that. So you basically have those two subsidies coming in, but eventually when the money runs out, that's the other thing. How many of us are going to be using Claude all day, every day for $3,000 a month? Probably not that many. But open source models, now that becomes more interesting, the ones that you can run on simpler hardware.
Okay, because we are almost out of time. I have one last question, and then I think it's good if some of the audience have questions. What I was interested in what should every business leader, according to you, do in the next 12 months regarding AI?
Maybe because I have the mic. To be honest, I think that people should follow the overall developments, depending on their personal needs and capacity. Whether they judge it from investment point of view or optimizing their business or maybe finding a new business idea or some new niche or whatever. And it's clear that there is a lot of hype, but also apparently there is a lot of opportunity around the corner. So I would not dismiss this, because typically when such a profound and fast change happens, if you're not following things and not in complete awareness of what's going on, you're basically gonna be left behind.
I absolutely agree with Vlado, and I'll just continue in the same direction. We are in a moment where the business models are going to completely change. And whoever does not understand this is at the greatest risk of going bankrupt very soon. Everything, the ability that we're getting with the LLM models and is giving us skill set that were not available before and that are not scalable at this level. If you hire one person, they will do the same automated thing based on their capacity. You get the AI, you can replace 200 people. And the big risk is now that you have 10, 20, 100 people working for you, and you have somebody who is starting right now, and they're going to start with a completely different business model. And this business model will not require 100 people. It will require 4 people or 5 people. Whatever Jordan said before, and everybody mentioned it, now we are in an area where we're going to start needing multi-experts, basically generalists, and they will be much, much better positioned than any niche expert, because they will be able to grasp what is happening here, grasp a little bit IT coding, grasp a little bit quality control, a little bit of sales, and suddenly those people will be much more valuable as entrepreneurs, but they will be also much more valuable for the companies. So companies will stop thinking in such a, I'm not going to say it, they're going to stop thinking, but they're going to decrease a little bit the thinking in very niche departments, everything silo work, separate work, somebody is doing business development, the other one is doing IT, third one is doing marketing. This will become much more vague in future business models, that I feel. And yes, this is basically, maybe I missed something. And then the real question becomes very different. The real question is, how do I and my company add value in this new world, in this new business model? And this is a question that I personally have to ask myself every month nowadays. Is my biggest added value my expertise that I gather for with 20 years of work? Is my biggest added value that I'm able to use ChatGPT and automate it to automate my processes? Is my biggest added value my connections that I have with the business so I can sell my solutions? Is it my database of experience that now I can automate and use and make it much better? So I can reference it every time I work. And those questions you will need to answer, and every business leader will need to answer. And depending on this, you will realize how much at risk you are.
Every business leader should start using it. That's simple.
Okay.
I would say, yeah, I agree with that. But yeah, every business, it's too broad a question, right? Like, what if you're a car mechanic or a consultant? It's not, you can't answer that question so broadly, but you should just start using it, see what you can do with it, experiment with it. If it frustrates you and it's not getting you what you need, put it down, but check again in 3 months or 6 months, because I'm using it every single day to do things that were unthinkable 1 year ago.
Absolutely.
And I've been using it since, maybe 2021 or 2022, before ChatGPT was even public. And the rate of change, I think, is actually speeding up, even though in another way it seems like it's getting more and more overhyped and more overvalued. What you can actually do with it is still growing very, very quickly. So I would just say experiment with it, use it for work, use it for play, and see where it fits in for you.
Thank you. It's fascinating what he says. I would just summarize it in one sentence, and it's these business leaders should maybe, brought to my mind this idea, what they should do. Maybe they should think of, if they have a dream that they didn't do yet, to try to do it. Maybe not continue this business, but there are a lot of opportunities now, so they can jump to something they really like. Maybe it's another perspective.
And one final sentence from my side. I don't remember, it was 2017 maybe or so. There was a very big article in the Economist, and they were citing a very big body of research, and the article was titled something like which will be the best profession, the best occupation of the future. And number one was yoga instructor. So from my personal standpoint, I would say that there will be a lot more jiu-jitsu instructors out there, and also a lot of other things that basically LLMs or other AI output basically won't be able to do so, or robots, because this is the next basically big thing, and probably robots will be responsible for even more people getting let out.
The rest of the people.
Thank you so much. You were so well structured that we still have few minutes for questions from the audience. So if anyone has a question, now is the time to ask. Go.
I have a question that's two-sided, basically. First of all, thanks a lot for the great discussion. I learned a lot. I just want to turn it around and go back to financial freedom, which is basically the core of our meetings. And it's like, forget about business leaders. Take the normal people that try to live their lives and try to have semi-passive income and try to be more free in their daily lives, have more time for their kids. How should I invest my money? Where should I put it? Where can I get my freedom? And second thing is for people, what?
The $1 million question.
Yeah, I know the answer. No? It's 42.
The second question is for the people that really still have their normal jobs. Like my feeling, but I just would like to bounce back with you, is like, right now I have the feeling it's better to be to lay tiles in the bathroom of the people. It's better paid than to be an accountant.
And this will be even more so in the years to come.
So who said that these are the new millionaires, right? And the thing is, like, probably your instructors and jiu-jitsu trainers could be, right?
Hopefully.
It goes in the same direction, right?
Yeah.
So tile.
Yeah.
But like for the people that they use their time again to exchange against money, like to get their money for their labor, right? Where do you see is the future? But it is better to go to university and get a degree and be an accountant and get, I don't know, half the money that gets a guy that's laying tiles. And the second part is, where should I put my so hardly gathered money to invest, and what would you do actually with the capital you have? So one is, where do you think somebody can get their money for their salary? And if you have capital, what would you do with it? In regards of AI.
I would say consider if maybe you can create your own business now that you have the ability to use these tools and multiply your efforts by so much, because everything's so overvalued. I might have said buy some more gold and silver a couple weeks ago. But well, it, like you said, if you had some dream that you wanted to do that wasn't possible before, maybe explore a little bit with it and see what you can do. And if you're stuck in a corporate job, then obviously see what parts of your job you can automate or accelerate.
Or become an artist as well.
Yeah.
Isn't that why it's overvalued to an extent? If you can just put a wrapper on OpenAI and spin up a fancy UI?
Well, I didn't necessarily, that I wouldn't really recommend. I don't think that's a very good business, because as you can see, those type of companies keep getting taken out because the major AI companies just add those features into their core products. But what I meant more along the lines of, anything, because you have the ability to use this tool to accelerate your learning and to do things for you that you're not capable of or you don't like to do. Like writing code, I know a little bit, but it's not something that I really like. But now with just a little bit of knowledge, I can create software, and pretty decent software. Maybe not something yet that can scale to like a mega SaaS product, maybe, but maybe in another year, the AI will be good enough to help me write top quality code. And it can apply to anything. Maybe you wanna make a movie or a screenplay or a short. You can now use these generative AI platforms to create some pretty good stuff. They still lack from things like character continuity, and there's things you have to work around, like you can only create a clip that's maybe 30 seconds long, but if you work at it, you can create some pretty cool stuff. And 10 years ago, you'd need $1 million or $10 million budget to even dream of doing something like that. Now you can do it for a few $100s and some time.
But then that will be based on your marketing efforts, because if everyone can do it, then you gotta stand out in some way. And
well, yeah, I mean, I don't know that making AI movies is necessarily a path to wealth for the average person, but it's just something you can explore. I mean, you can use the knowledge that's in that thing to explore any field. It doesn't have to be using it to make another AI product. That's just what I think. It's just incredible. It's an incredible tool for learning.
Maybe doing art will become more valuable in the future, because AI, I don't believe it can go there just because of these limitations. It's a machine. It cannot dream. It cannot have feelings. It doesn't have fear of death. It doesn't know why it's there. So maybe these more philosophical, more ethical, more like these capabilities will be a lot left to the humans, and this more like nature or spiritual part of life will become maybe more valuable. Maybe this will be where a space is open.
I would say first of all to learn like a physical skill, for sure. Because we as intellectuals, I'm not saying that you should
Customers for jiu-jitsu, yes.
as well. Jiu-jitsu is good, but also to maintain your curiosity and as Dancho said, try to pick things from different spheres, from different areas, to learn more about different topics. Because as also Brian said, you can learn fast, man. You can, and if you have if you have existing business, you can leverage it quite well, and if you do it faster in environments such as, let's say, our poor country, where all new things come, let's say, with 15 years of delay, I think that you might get some really good advantage, at least for a couple of years, which is also related to a certain extent to what Boyko asked. For the financial independence in general, you need capital, and you might not think, let's say, 20 years in advance, like this business will be successful for 20 years and you will be milking it all the way, but at least you might get some initial capital. And secondly, my assumption is that with all the AI possibilities, you will be able to pivot quite fast to other things if necessary, and new ideas will emerge for sure. New ways of doing all things as well, and when you get the money, it depends on your risk profile, depends on your risk appetite, depends on your personal goals. There is no universal question to your answer to your question.
Any more questions? No? Well, thank you very much for your time today, for being here and for discussing this topic with everyone. Hope you had a good time as well.
Sure.
Absolutely. Thank you.